So we are going to let people just kind of file in here and get ready for this awesome event. My name is Dr. JC Doornick, aka The Dragon. And I am super, super psyched to be here. Such an honor to be involved in an event where a lot of you guys are going to get to have a more personal conversation with a very special guy. So we're gonna kick things off. Maybe let us know where you're coming from right now. I mean, it could be anywhere, right? It could be anywhere. And I'd love to know a little bit more about you guys. And also, you'll see that there's a Q&A area down there. Obviously, we won't be able to get to everybody, but if you have a question for Jim, use the Q&A area down there. We've already got some people that had great questions and we brought them in here, but just know that. This event is streaming live on Facebook. We're also recording it, so you guys will all get a copy of that. Keep an eye throughout this broadcast on the in the chat, because that's going to be an area where we'll put links to get follow-up information and all of that stuff. Give a big shout out to all the people that put this together before we bring Jim in here. We got the folks at Creative Con, right? That is CRE8TIVE con.com. Check that out. That is an awesome event next year. We've got a lot of people that put this together. And I give a shout out to the amazing Julie Loken and Heidi Dunstan, and of course, you know, Jim Kwik, who's going to be coming out here soon. So as we get settled in, we only have an hour tonight, so I want to talk less and have more Jim Kwik. Jim is a really good friend of mine, and you know, we've known each other for well over 20 years, so this is really special. This event that we're having here is kind of like a follow-up of another event that we had where Jim just went unplugged and talked about his amazing new book, Limitless Expanded. He's been out on the road on tour for just so long. Pulling into the end of it, he's actually going to be coming from a hotel room. He's just a never, you know, quitting, never ending, you know, servant to the people. I don't know if you know this, but Jim donates all of the proceeds to his book, and you'll have an opportunity to not only get his book if you've never had it, but also get some awesome assets that he's given away there. But what I'd love to do before I bring him out, I believe he's going to be ready to go. I've introduced Jim so many times. I mean, Jim's a great friend of mine, and I had two options of introducing him. I was going to do this like really, really awesome one where I was going to be like, hey, Jim Kwik, fireworks and all that stuff. But what I did, just to see, because he's such an icon now, I actually asked ChatGPT. I know we're not supposed to do that, but I thought it would be funny. Jim talks about AI in his book. I asked ChatGPT to write me an introduction, and it's actually pretty good. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna read it. So, introducing to all of you the amazing Jim Kwik, a luminary in the realm of brain optimization and New York Times best-selling author. That's my boy, Jim Kwik. Jim is actually a world-class brain coach whose journey is nothing short of inspiring. After overcoming learning challenges from a brain injury in his early years, this is from ChatGPT. This is how you know that you've done a lot, right? In his early years, he's transformed himself into an accelerated learning expert. How cool is that? Earning him the moniker, the boy with the broken brain. If you were on that last episode, you heard all of Jim's story. Tonight's going to be more interactive. With a client list featuring top CEOs and celebrities, I mean, everybody, who's who, Jim Kwik's strategies not only unlock full potential of the mind, but also empower individuals globally to enhance memory, focus, and cognitive abilities. This is ChatGPT. Thank you, ChatGPT. Coming off of a worldwide book launch, they even do this, of his second book, Limitless, the second edition. Jim is here with us tonight with a unique personal Q&A session for you, the public, about you being the public, about his groundbreaking work in his book, Limitless. Prepare to embark, Jim, you're going to like this, prepare to embark on a cognitive revolution. How cool is that to be associated with that? With a man whose expertise transcends boundaries, making him a true titan. I would like to be known as a titan, a true titan in the field of accelerated learning and brain enhancement. Ladies and gentlemen, folks from all over, please welcome my good friend, somewhat maybe even my bestie, Jim Kwik from this hotel. How are you, my brother?
I'm great, Doc. How are you? Thank you, everybody who's tuned in, and thank you for everyone who coordinated this very short notice. So everybody who's here on the screen, I really appreciate you so much. So
Yeah.
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, and just checked in my hotel room. Really excited to have this conversation with all of you. So yeah, let's do it. Let's jump in.
So yeah, let's just do that and jump in. And I just want to tell you, from my heart to yours, I will never ever stop telling you this, how just proud I am of you and everything that you've accomplished, my bro. I've watched this whole thing happen. And, for those of you that have never had the opportunity, and you're going to get a little opportunity tonight to really get to know Jim Kwik, he's the real deal. He's a real human being with a big heart, and everything he does, from speed reading, he's got my family reading more, speed reading, memory retention, and also all of these amazing tools from his book. That's who he is. It's his heartbeat. He is just an amazing human being, and I hope that you guys will get a flavor of what it's like to actually know him. Love you, my friend. So, Jim, what I'd love to do, and I'm gonna give a little bit of control over this. If you come up with, because I know a lot of people have been asking, hey, can Jim do one of his, like we did last time, something like that, any sort of, brain game or example of some of the things you teach. So at any time, if you come up with something organically, you feel free to rock. But what I'd love to do is I'd love to have some of these people that we've handpicked that have they're big fans of yours, but also great questions are going to bring it out. So first person I'm going to bring out is just somebody that I've come to know. He's an amazing, amazing individual coming from the West Coast, and that is Alex Liu. Alex, are you there?
Alex.
Alex, if you could unmute and show your camera, there he is. So I'm going to let you ask Jim your question, and I'll be back when you're done.
Awesome. Jim, pleasure to meet you. JC, thank you for setting this all up. My name is Alex. I guess my question to you is, regarding learning, what are some effective ways to bridge the intersection between enhancing memory and cultivating deep understanding enough to create? In this case, assuming that creating is the highest form of cognitive learning, what is the most, I guess, efficient way to kind of bridge that gap from just root memorization to actually understanding the subject in a very deep way?
Thanks, Alex. So I would imagine, I believe the future belongs to the creators, and our brains are the #1 wealth building machine that we have. And our ability to create. I mean, think about all the superpowers that animals have. Some animals could fly, some could breathe underwater, some are super fast, some are super strong. Human beings aren't any of those things, but because we have the ability to create, we can fly. And because we have the ability to create with our minds, we can breathe and go underwater and go super fast and so on, because it's the ultimate technology. So I believe memory is foundational for creation, because creativity is a process of making new connections and making new decisions, but you can only make connections and decisions on things that you know at that time. So that's why memory is such an important aspect. I mean, how many of you, and I'm speed reading the chat here also as well, and I know we're on Facebook, so I have multiple screens open here. How many of you would like to have a better memory? Just by a show of me's. I mean, I think everybody. And because memory is a force multiplier. So how creative state is interesting, because there's so many different ways of approaching it. Creativity really is linking, two new things together that haven't been there before. So I'll give you everyone 2 quick tips. #1 is the questions that we ask ourselves, and creators that are creating at the highest level are asking questions that other people aren't asking. So they're getting answers other people don't. There's a book called this, and I'll mention a number of books. There's a book called The Structure of Scientific Revolution that postulates that all innovation, or the majority of innovation in every industry, automotive, fashion, tech, usually comes from people outside the industry, because it usually takes somebody from the outside without the same limiting beliefs and blinders to be able to ask a new question. Someone like an Elon saying, if we were to create a vehicle today, how would we go about doing it? And so, asking new questions. There's a great book, 0 to 1, with famed angel investor that says, what's the if you had to hit your 10-year goal, and that could be a creative goal, but you only had to do it, you had to do it in 6 months, how would you go about doing it? And so that I find that's an interesting question. So besides the power of questions, another thing you could do is their brainwave states. So if we were all hooked up to an EEG, there are these we cycle through these brainwave states, these 5 states. 4 of the most popular are the beta, alpha, theta, delta. And delta is when you're asleep, and beta is when hopefully you're all awake right now. Alpha is the state of accelerated learning. That's where you're in a state where you just absorb information rapidly. They've done studies in Russia and language learning. You know, when you listen to certain music or do certain breathing pattern, put you in a relaxed state of awareness, where your conscious mind kind of moves to the side and you just input, and you could do it more rapidly because you're not doing it so much consciously as you do it more unconscious. But the other part of it.
Interrupt. I had a quick follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
Are you talking about like a state of like deep focus? I understand there's like a period of time, I guess, where we enter that state. So is there a way to kind of lessen that time where you enter that state of deep focus?
Yeah. So so focus is a conversation we could have for hours. Obviously, you need a certain level of alertness to be able to guide your attention, because if you're not paying attention, we're probably not going to register a whole lot. Even this gathering here, it's free, but people do have to pay attention, right? The alpha state you could actually get into pretty rapidly. I mean, within minutes. 3 states that will get 3 suggestions to get into an alpha state of accelerated learning: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So when you imagine things, when you close your eyes and you imagine something, like we walk people through a memory palace, or a story technique, one of the memory techniques, what have you, it'll put people in a relaxed state of awareness. Also breathing, conscious mindful breathing will put you into an alpha state. The third thing, certain music and sounds, like nature sounds or classical music, especially from the Baroque era, Vivaldi, Handel, it harmonizes 60 beats per minute with resting heart rate. And so it's interesting also, like hypnosis will put you into an alpha state. And what does a good hypnotherapist do, or self-hypnosis? What does it do? It allows you to change maybe limiting beliefs, thoughts that you have, because you're not consciously squelching them, right? And what do they use? They use visualization. You're going down an escalator, right? They have you do some deep breathing with your eyes closed, some more box breathing or alpha breathing. And then usually play some kind of music in the background, and that'll put you into an alpha state. So my point in bringing this up is that we don't have to just hope that we're in a learning state, that we could actually create it. And yeah, the theta state is the state, to answer your question, of creativity. So the theta state is a state you're in right before you go to sleep. So it's a slow brainwave state. And how you could accomplish that is a number of things will put you in a state where you're so relaxed, even more than alpha. And for something that I think all of you could relate to is, have you ever taken a shower and you're very creative, you come up with ideas in the shower? And I took 6 showers for all of you just before the Zoom, just so I could be extra creative for all of you. But it's interesting, water, that flow nature will put you into that kind of theta state. And that theta state is a state of creativity, where you're actually be able to pull information out and create at new levels. So you could experiment with that. I mean, Einstein used to do his thought experiments, very creative, imaginative, and he would sit outside of Princeton and like in a rocking chair, and he would hold a rock. And he would try to almost get to the stage where he's sleeping, but he would hold the rock, because if he fell asleep, he would drop it, and because he won't want to go to sleep. Unless you're going to do some creative stuff while you sleep. We did a whole podcast episode on lucid dreaming. You can search my name, Jim Kwik, lucid dreaming, and that's an incredible state to learn from and create from. I mean, Mary Shelley created Frankenstein in her dreams. Paul McCartney created the song Yesterday in his dream. A chemist created the periodic table in his dream. So what can we do to be able to program our minds right before we go to sleep to even be more creative and still get the restorative benefits from sleep also as well?
That's awesome.
Great question.
Great question, Alex. Great question. So we're gonna time-wise, we're gonna move on to the next question. But great information. And Alex, thanks so much for that. And we'll move on. We're gonna bring out our next awesome question. So You know, what's interesting, Jim, is I'm doing some speed reading myself, and I just want to share one funny thing is somebody says that Jim Kwik should have a cruise with all of his information. I'm in. I'm in for that one.
Like a boat?
Like you're
Like
gonna
a
have a cruise where everybody on the boat just
Right.
comes, you know, you have the amphitheaters and you get a Jim
Yeah,
Kwik
our team is on
experience.
this, so quick cruises,
Quick cruises, yeah. I mean,
I have this thing about
we don't want
cruises.
it to go too quick though, you know.
No, I know. I get offered even early in my career to speak at cruises on cruise lines, and they throw in the benefit of the vacation as part of it. I just
No, we're
yeah.
talking about we're getting your own boat, dude.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, we'll set
So
up.
let's bring out now, Jim. This individual. I'm going to have Robbie. I believe
Yeah.
it's Proch now come out. Robbie's got an amazing story, and you've had a big impact on him. So,
Hey, Robbie.
Robbie, just be cognizant of.
Yeah, I'll go quicker. So it's on me too. I want to get through as many questions as we can.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that I could only ask one question, so I'm going to try to narrow it down because I had like 10. But no, Jim, great to meet you. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm sure Chris or JC may have give you some backstory, but I battled cancer the last 3 years, twice. So had it, came back, got over it, but it really inspired me to have this awakening experience and unlocking the mind, because after all the chemo and drugs and that stuff, I just felt really, congested. I'm sure you understand going through the trauma that you did as well, trying to say, can I get my brain back a little bit? So I did, make the investment and jump in recently, getting the Kwik reading program. And one thing that I've loved to do is listen to audiobooks in the car, while I'm working out. Great source of inspiration. How do you look at audiobooks as either a complement or, something completely separate from how you think about that quick reading process?
So first of all, look at all the love you have here, Robbie, in the chat. That's awesome. So you have somebody, this whole community cheering for you. Chemo brain is a real thing. It's something we help clients with, to be able to bounce back and also bounce forward. So congratulations on your journey. And we're cheering for you. Audiobooks. I love audiobooks. I like to listen to them on a more rapid, 1.5 or 2x, or how many of you listen to audiobooks are fans? We don't have an audiobook for Limitless Expanded. But if there's interest, and maybe, who should we get to narrate that? And he's put it in the chat. From a comprehension and retention standpoint, which is really what counts, audiobooks don't score as well as physically reading a book. Usually, though, I would guess, if I was to hallucinate why, is because usually when you're listening to something, you're doing something else. You're driving, so you're multitasking, right? So your attention is going to divert, so you might miss pieces, or you're working out, or you're cleaning the house and your attention's going somewhere else. You're exercising something. So that I would attribute the fact that multitasking, unless you're listening to an audiobook and you're dedicated doing that, taking notes. But I'm a fan of audiobooks. Whose voice? Yeah, let me know. Yes, are some of you volunteering to narrate Limitless? Morgan Freeman. I do know him. So does anyone want me to narrate my own book? Just out of curiosity. But I do, Robbie, like to listen to it at a faster speed. One of the reasons people can understand is you can understand that quickly if you're paying attention. It's interesting going to the speed reading course that you're taking. One of the challenges with reading faster is subvocalization. Subvocalization really quickly. How many of you notice when you're reading something like Limitless Expanded, you hear that inner voice inside your head reading along with you? Hopefully it's your own voice, it's not somebody else's voice. Or maybe it's my voice for the audiobook. If you have to say all the words, and that means you only can read as fast as you could talk. And that means your reading speed is limited to your talking speed, not your thinking speed. And we know you could understand at faster rates. In fact, listening to something or reading something faster could actually help you to understand it better, because your mind won't wander as much. Some people read so slowly, they feed their super amazing brain one word at a time, metaphorically, we're starving our brain. If we don't give our brain the stimulus it needs, it'll seek entertainment elsewhere in the form of distraction. And I think that's why people lose focus, because they're reading too slow. And so, if you don't give your brain the stimulus it needs, it'll start thinking about, it'll mind wander. It'll think about dry cleaning or the day or things you have to do. And then you're really not going to understand as much. But the question becomes, do you have to say the words in order to understand them? And you absolutely do not, because 95% of the words you've seen thousands of times. Is like seeing a stop sign. You don't have to say to yourself, stop, but you understand what it means. And plus, even when you read a book, you don't even say like all of the punctuation marks. You don't say period, question mark, exclamation, point, semicolon, and you understand what they mean. But so are the words and, there, the, because, if, like, it's all these filler words. So what we do with the program that you're going through is we train people to sub-vocalize less. So they're reading by sight, not by sound. But definitely keep with it. And audiobooks is absolutely amazing. And then the more you can focus on it and not multitask, the more benefit you're going to get out of it.
I have heard research that it's good to listen and read because it activates both sides of the brain too. But again, I do multitask, so I think that's a great point, saying that you're in the zone of just reading rather than
it's also the listening is also like watching television. It's most for people, they go on default, and because it's happening to them, they become passive. Reading, you can't do that. You have to be an active reader in order to engage with the book. And that's why they say reading is to your mind what exercise is to your body. So all the benefits. But I do listen to audiobooks, especially when I travel. I like to read physical books, not digital books personally, because I don't need another reason to be on a screen with my line of work. But sometimes if I'm traveling, I can't bring like 18 books with me, right? But so I can have Audible or something else. I'll work on the audiobook if that's what people want. But Robbie, congratulations. It's really nice to meet you. And I'll see you inside the app for our program.
Great to meet you.
Great question. And what's interesting about that is Robbie just made me think about that, because I've taken Jim's speed reading course, and I just can't not read now. That's how I get back online from stress and all sorts. And I just love to control what I consume. However, there is a difference between reading and my audiobook time. I've just made a decision to use my car time and my plane time listening to audiobooks. But yeah, I agree, Jim. It's
I learned very early on, that, what do they say, that your car could be your university on wheels, right? Using that commute time. And it really adds up. So my martial arts instructor for years, he always says that's a way of stealing.
Shout out to Flo.
Yeah. Stealing reps is one of those things where it's you're making coffee and you're waiting X amount of minutes, and you use that time to practice, and you're stealing those reps. I think anyone who knows me knows I'm always carrying a book with me, and every opportunity. I was at the DMV the other day, and it just took longer than it should have, and I just finished a book, and it was nice, and you can always kind of steal those reps. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and and a lot of people might look at that and say, if I read for 15 minutes a day, I don't want to read anymore. What I can tell you is that there's another reality where you will like thoroughly enjoy it. And in this world right now, Jim and I talk a lot about the idea of controlling what we consume. If you just randomly start consuming, Jim's a big advocate of not checking your phone in the morning and starting your day off like that. You don't know what you're going to get. When you read a book or listen to an audiobook, you've controlled your consumption.
I'm telling you, reading is so. It is the reason. I didn't have connections or know a lot of people or anything. My mentors were these books. If somebody has decades of experience, they put into a book, and so you sit down a few days and read that book. You could download decades and days. And obviously, I'm talking about this book specifically because this book will actually help you read all other books because it'll teach you the fundamentals to learning and memory and focus and speed reading. But that being said, I really think that when it comes to reading, it's one of those. It's a must. I mean, this is extreme. I'd rather go a day without food than a day without reading personally. But that's kind of my take on it. It gives me new ideas and new information. I can make better decisions. And also, if you don't enjoy reading, my suggestion is twofold. Number one, get better at it, because most people don't enjoy things they're not good at. And then if reading puts you to sleep, or you don't understand a lot of what you read, or you can't focus, or you read too slowly, then just getting better at it, you're going to do it more often. In psychology, they call it the confidence-competence loop. You get more competent, you get more confident, and then you're going to do that thing more often, right? If I'm not good at playing golf, I'm probably not going to play golf very often because I'm not that great at it. But the other thing is, another tip to be a better reader is read things you love until you love reading, right? Read things that you find interesting, that you love, until you love the process of reading. So we've
That's
done
awesome.
podcasts about this.
I blame you for me being the same way, but and I also thank you for that. Hey guys, just one little break right now. A lot of people, and Jim, if you check the Q&A, people are asking questions there as well. I just want to let everybody know, and we're going to put the link up there in a second if Heidi could do it. So if you don't have his book, we're going to put the link up to get it, but take advantage of Jim's offer to join his book club, and he's got a 13-day starter program. So look at it right there. There she goes. She put it in there. A lot of people are asking that you've already bought his book. What do I do? Just go to that website link there, kwikbrain.com/limitless expanded, and you scroll down to the bottom, and Jim gives you this area to insert your information. That's how you'll trigger the offer. Another thing that we're going to have to follow up from this is you're going to have the ability to, and Heidi will put that up at some point, you're going to be able to get a copy of this recording, but then also the assets and information that Jim is going to do. So Heidi will put that up. Just sign up for that, and you'll get an email with anything that's associated with this call. So Jim, I got an interesting one for you here. So we're going to take a step into AI land. I don't know how I got this guy on here, but he is like the hottest thing on social media right now. They call him the AI surfer. So are you ready for some AI talk? Because he told me, he's like, dude, Jim talks about AI, and I'm like, come on in. So Dallas, the AI surfer, who's just an amazing guy, who I just learned so much from you. So go for it, man. I'm so excited to hear what you talk about.
AI surfer, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. So first of all, I think you should do your book. You got a great voice.
Thank you.
And I'm also going to Kwik cruises, so
right on. I'll see you there.
But yeah, man. My thing is, like, I know you talk a lot about education, and education has not changed in forever. And me personally, how I've learned is I learned to code from YouTube, and I learned then how to build businesses from YouTube. Amazing. And then I learned how to play golf, and I can beat my dad now from YouTube. And now I'm learning about AI and learning all these tools, learning video editing, and I've basically put it in every single one of my businesses, and I can never go back to any other way. It totally changed everything for me. So I'm curious on your thoughts, man, on just like education in general. It's got to change education completely.
Yeah. That could be a deep conversation. We could definitely have that, offline on top of that. But, the world has changed so much, right? Talk about technology. We live in an age of autonomous electric cars, right? Cars that are driving itself on electricity, and spaceships that are going to Mars. But our vehicle, when it comes to education, is more like a horse and carriage. It's a horse and buggy. They say up Rip Van Winkle, the guy who slept for like decades, if he woke up today, the only thing he would recognize are classrooms, and he just haven't. This is not a slight against teachers. It's just the system hasn't changed. Teachers, some of those caring, compassion. My mother was a public school teacher, started in special education, helped me with my learning difficulties. So I have a huge respect. I just feel like that where we could excel, the focus of even Limitless Expand is on two areas. It's taking care of the hardware, 3-pound matter between your brain, which is a form of technology, and then the software, which is the learning, how to learn part, because I feel like school taught us what to learn, but they don't teach you how to learn, or how to think, or how to focus, or how to remember, or how to read better and faster. So I feel like curriculum is changing, and they use our systems in some of the top school systems in the world, in Finland and South Korea. It's a slow process, just like just like health and medicine, like all these different areas. But I'm very excited about personalized learning. I think
Yeah.
AI allows you to do that. You know, AI could help us learn better. It could help you could adapt learning materials to your needs. It could remind you to review things at the best time, something called spaced repetition and interval training. And it can even track your progress. Like with our, for those of you in our course in our app, you know, we're adding like a Kwik bot there, and we've
Cool.
downloaded it where we fed it all of our content, even content we don't have public. So I feel very strongly as we beta tested, it could answer a lot of questions that people have, and not even asynchronous, like in real time. And even personalized learning is so important. I think in the classroom of the future, like think about it, you learn everything on YouTube, right? And it didn't cost you a dime. Like today we have unfettered access to free information. We can learn from the best people in their space, podcasts, YouTube, and so on, so much more than people had, you know, when I'm in my 50s, you know, that I had growing up without the internet and stuff. So I'm very hopeful. I'm hopeful and very optimistic. I feel like that it could AI could help us. Talking about AI specifically, could help us move from knowledge to wisdom faster. It's not about learning necessarily more, it's about learning more effectively, and that's how AI can help boost your performance and your productivity. You know, but some people, you know, have a little bit fear or a little hesitant. You know, the elephant in the room is like that fear, right? Some people fear that AI will replace humans and control our lives, but remember, AI is a tool, and a tool is only as good or bad as those who wield it. And we shape AI's role, you know, in our lives. We could decide how to use it and use it to enhance our abilities, not diminish them. I mean, even if I'm, you know, mentioned something like neuroplasticity, anybody can go into an AI program and say, hey, I didn't know what that is, but can you explain to me neuroplasticity at, you know, in a story format as if I'm 8 years old, right?
Yeah.
We have a podcast, and sometimes if I'm interviewing an expert who has a book and I didn't get it in time, I'll say, hey, can you summarize this book? Or can you offer me 10 questions I could ask this guest that they haven't been asked before, that our audience would really appreciate and like to go deeper in. So yeah, we added a whole chapter in Limitless Expanded on how to use AI to enhance your HI, your human intelligence. And I look at it more like augmented intelligence than artificial. I feel like it's a tool for us to use. And that's the message I would leave with people. I mean, you could do AI curated content, AI driven personalized learning plans, AI based micro learning sessions, AI's, you know, scheduling reviews to test yourself, AI driven focus tools, summary highlight tools. I mean, I'm so excited.
Me too,
Everyone.
obviously. So
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it, man.
Yeah, you know, Dallas, one thing that's interesting, I've been influenced by Dallas and the AI surfer, you know, vibe, but I talked to Jim about this, and one of the things that I love is Jim, how open he is. You know, I love the world gets so scared about things, but Jim just finds a way to use them as tools. So I was always curious because Jim talks about human intelligence, and I'm always interested in that conversation, human versus AI. And Jim knows I'm not even sure if we're just AI, but that's another conversation.
You're really bad.
But Dallas, thanks so much, my brother. This is a great question.
See you on Kwik Cruises, man.
Yeah.
Kwik Cruises.
Hit me up on Instagram or somewhere.
Yeah, you'll love his stuff.
I'm gonna send you some stuff we're working on with AI.
Love to, man. Yeah, we're AI all day. You know, one quick thing I love that you say is wake up ready, man. You know, wake up ready. Like, don't freak out if you're gonna go present because you don't have to study so much right when you're about to get on stage. You wake up ready. I love that about you.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite things that you do. So anyways, cheers.
Thank you.
And he does, you know. Jim, some people ask me, what's it like, you know, to go visit Jim? Like Jim, like when I come over, Jim will walk in the grass with his bare feet, you know, because he wants to be grounded. And I'm like, he's a real deal, this guy. Anyway, great questions. So Jim, this is not my wife. She just has a name that sounds like Mika. So I'm going to bring Mika up here, who is probably one of the most amazing vegan bakers in the world. There she is. Hi, sweetie. Somehow I run into a woman that has the same name as my wife, and she's a big fan, and she's got a question for you. Go for it, sweetie.
Oh, hey, JC. Hey, Dragon. My husband, my virtual husband, apparently. And from AI surfer to vegan baker, Jim, I want to tell you, I love your material. I love your story and how you evolved from your early beginnings to what you're doing now. I've got a lot of questions for you, but first I want to say you look amazing for a person in their 50s. Like, who does that? Who does that? Like, is that really Jim? Is that, or is this an AI? What is this?
This is my AI avatar right now. No.
Wow. Whatever filter you have, I want that same filter.
The filter. It's the power of Zoom, I think it's the power of the mind. You know, Dr. Daniel Amen reached out. How I met him, he's written 40 plus books on the brain. He's a very famous brain doctor in the States. We met because 13 years ago, he was writing a book, and he interviewed me for a whole chapter, and it was called Use Your Brain to Change Your Age. Look it up, check it out. Yeah.
I'm using it. I'm also the co-host of the Obsessed podcast that Julie is on. So Julie, myself, and Tia, the Obsessed podcast, we'd love to have you on. And we can even talk about this particular segment. But the question that I have for you is that I'm like a lot of people where I've got a lot of excuses. Like I've been learning Spanish forever and I understand a lot of it. But what advice would you give for someone who's busy and they're wanting to learn another language or learn another skill, but we just have so many excuses, the kids, the family, the partner, the business, the podcast. How can we, you know, because I actually know a lot, and it's when a customer that speaks like no English and they speak Spanish, I can like, I'm like, yeah. And then and in another scenario, I'm like, you know, like, I kind of just go, what's the word? I'm kind of like, I just go on default where I'm not as engaged. I'm not committed to just finish this level.
So do you find, okay, so how I coach, you know, there's these 3 quadrants or circles that I focus on, either in mindset, motivation, or the methods. So whenever I want to achieve a goal, let's say you want to learn Spanish, right? Do you feel like it's your mindset that's holding you back, that you don't believe it's possible, that you don't believe you're capable of it, or you know, you don't have a great memory or something like that? Or is it your motivation? You're just not driven to do the things? Or is it the methods, meaning you feel like you don't have good strategies to study to learn it? You know, or a combination of all 3, because I realize, and I appreciate Laura, like, so good with the, with the in the chat there. You have to shine a spotlight on the area that's bottlenecking you, right? And there's only 3 areas, because you can control 3 things always: your head, your heart, your hands, your mindset, your motivation, and your methods that you're using to achieve your goals, to start a business, to have a thriving relationship, to feel and look younger, to read faster, right? It's always mindset, motivation, and methods. Is there an area you feel like that's the biggest one for you? Do you need to learn new methods to learn it? Do you need a little push or motivation to be consistent about it? Or do you think your mindset might be sabotaging you a little bit and holding you back?
I think it's the method. I know the answer. It's actually just, it's just the commitment level, the commitment, because I know that it would require someone else that's like just speaking Spanish with me, even if it's 5 minutes a day. And then that repetition.
And that's great. So there's there's so many different ways that we could approach this. So having a learning buddy is amazing, right? When you get deeply immersed into something. You mentioned, you know, 5 minutes a day, which is surprising. You can get a lot done. That 5 minutes a day, little by little, it adds up to a whole lot also as well. And so, but it really has to be scheduled, because you have your to-do list and you schedule that, but we're not scheduling our to learn list. And so just like you schedule parent teacher meetings or work meetings or going to doctor's office, whatever, you have to schedule your learning. From a method standpoint, this book is full of memory techniques to learn languages. I mean, even something simple that all of us could do. And JC wanted to make this interactive, and I know not everyone's on video, but if anybody who is on video could come on video, let's do this. So stand up, or everybody here, stand up real quick. Like everyone who's everybody, all 400 of everyone watching this live. I know people are watching this recorded, but just stand up even if you're not on video. And the key to learn a language, many different things you could do, including getting an alpha state and having the Baroque music and the breathing and everything. But again, when you could use your dominant senses, you could see it, hear it, and feel it, you're more likely to remember it, because most people just learn by hearing something. And that's not using up a lot of real estate in your brain. If you could hear it, see it, and feel it, you're going to remember it for sure. Okay. So let's say you wanted to, it's very simple, count to 10 in Japanese, right? Let's do Japanese for different contexts. So what I want everyone to do is say what I say and do what I do. All right. And touch that body part. So everybody scratch your knee and say ichi ni. Just say ichi ni.
Oh.
Yeah, that's 1 and 2. Yeah, 1 and 2. Ichi is 1, ni is 2 in Japanese. San is, so point to the sun or point to a light and say san. Everyone say it out loud, auditory memory, san. And then 4, that's 3. San is 3. She, point to a female in the room. She. So go from the beginning. Ichi ni, you're scratching your knee. Ichi ni, san, she. Okay. 5 is go. So just take a couple of steps and say go, go. That's 5. And then 6 is roku. So imagine you're rowing a canoe. Go like this, like roku. Roku. So you're going go, you're taking steps, right? Go, roku. And so it's interesting because now you hear it, but you also see what you're doing and you're feeling it in your body, and you're more likely to remember it. Now you could take a seat. Right now, everyone sit, and the next is shichi, like you're sitting, shichi, but it's hot, so stand back up, hachi. so shichi, hachi, and then 9 is ku. Like what makes a cooing sound, Mika? What makes a cooing sound? Like a bird or a baby? Let's say a baby. Okay, so maybe just like you're rocking a baby. So okay, coo. And then 10 is Jew, like a jewel. So just imagine you're putting on a jewel, Jew. Okay. All right. So just from the top, and we've only did this in like 45 seconds, but from the beginning, ichi, ni, san, shi, go, and then you're rowing the canoe, roku, and then you're sitting is shichi, and it's hot, so you stand up, hachi, and then this is the ku, and then put on the Jew. All right. So it's and you could a pigeon, you could do anything, a dove, absolutely. So you can make whatever you want to use. So just do something that sounds like. But my point in doing this is anything is more effective than just repetition. Right? You go uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You could do it over and over again 50 times, and then you'll get it. But it takes time. If you do it just once or twice and use more of your nervous system, like more of your whole brain and more of your genius, it'll happen more organic and more natural. And so everything, like I could teach somebody, a child, a periodic table, all those elements, and just, in a very short period of time using something like that, just hearing it once. But when you understand how your brain works, you could work your brain. And that's really what Limitless Expanded is. It's mindset, motivation, and methods for optimizing your brain and learning anything faster, any subject, any skill. But the most important skill to master today is learning how to learn. Because notice, like if everyone knows how to learn, they could apply it towards Spanish or, marketing or money or martial arts or music. And everything gets easier when you could focus, understand, remember, retain, and so on. So it's the master skill. And I really think it's the elusive obvious. It's something that just makes your life so much easier. And for me, having the struggles I had growing up, multiple traumatic brain injuries and just migraines every day as a kid, processing issues, learning, put in special ed. My grandmother passed of Alzheimer's when I was very young, and so we donate, the proceeds to Alzheimer's research for women, because women are twice as likely to experience Alzheimer's than men. But I love this. This is so energizing for me and the team, because it's just spreading this out. And all we're just ask for people is 95% of what we publish out there is free. You know, we want to democratize this and make it available to the world. And so we really appreciate your help. You know, when people gift this book or they share our podcast, if anyone's purchases, please leave a review. Our last book did over 1 million copies in 3 years. And, you know, we had 18,000 ratings and reviews on Amazon. But if anyone could do that, that would be huge for us. You know, we just want to get this into the zeitgeist, you know, into the matrix, so other people could benefit.
Wow.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mika. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Bye, virtual husband. Jim, thank you. Heidi, thank you. Everyone behind the scenes, thank you. Jules, thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Can we give a shout out also just to everybody on that put this together in the chat? Just thank you so much. Like, and again, like I never take this for granted. This is something I just, yeah, really appreciate all of you. So thank you.
One thing, just as somebody that knows Jim really well, one thing I notice is that he is at his best when he's doing what he's doing right now. You guys are actually getting a better version of him than me, because he's training right now and he just loves serving others. And, you know, probably didn't hurt all the nice things she said about you being like so young and all of that stuff, you know, but that's another story. So, first of all, Jim, I saw a couple of people in here from our last call were saying, like, I remember the blueberries in my nose and the lettuce leaves. So, you know, a lot of people don't understand that the stuff that Jim teaches and, you know, his speed reading and his memory retention, it's outside of the realm of what you know. So, you know, get the book and realize that this book is different than most books that you're reading, because this book actually teaches you how to read and also how to comprehend. And this second edition, I mean, like if you put them next to each other, I mean, it's just got how many more pages in it, Jim?
Like 120 new pages, and just
unbelievable.
It's a lot of content. Yeah, this is
a lot
the
of content.
Complete version. Yeah, we're never gonna touch this. It is timely right now because people struggle. I mean, how many of you struggle with distraction, forgetfulness, information overload, and overwhelm? Right, and we all do. So this is timely right now for everybody, but it's timeless because with AI and everything, there's just gonna be more information, more distractions, you know, more forgetfulness. And so let's reclaim our brain together.
I heard something this morning and it made me think of you. A lot of people talk about the Matrix. Jim's a big fan of the Matrix. But I heard this morning a new concept called the Creatrix, where you can actually become the master of your own creation and create your own matrix. There I go. I went heavy again. All right, so let's bring our next guest. Jim, this is a special guy. I know you guys have maybe crossed paths, but I'm going to ask Corey Poirier to come out. And Corey's I believe it's called Blue Talk, right, Corey? Yeah, Corey's got this, you know, it's very, very similar to TED Talks, but Corey's one of the founders of that. And Corey's got a question for you.
Hey, Corey.
Good to see you, buddy.
Awesome. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Hey, Jim, we actually met not that long ago, actually, at VCon. And Jim, my question, I was trying to think of the one question, and I kind of would be remiss not to ask this one because it's the question I've asked at this point conservatively about 4,500 times in interviews.
Wow. Okay.
And it's no pressure. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that big of, not a huge like out of the box type question. And it's actually, we're starting to work on a documentary type project because I've asked the question so many times. So having said that, it's you probably even heard of the question before, but it's the time machine question is what I call it. And really it's just a question of, if you could go back, Jim, before you became limitless and even learned what that means, and you could go back to your younger self based on what you know today and give him some life advice based on, again, your current perspective, what do you think you might tell a younger Jim? And then as part of that question, because I know I can't really ask two, is would you even get in the time machine in the first place?
Wow, that second part question just, that had an effect on me. All right, so besides the cliche stuff, like going back in time and saying like buy Apple and Facebook stock and stuff like that, right? I don't know if I had to give advice to that 9-year-old boy. I mean, that's I think all of us are best served to support the person we once were. right? So when I write and I speak, I'm talking to that person that was very insecure, very fearful, a lot of shame, very embarrassed, and felt like wasn't enough. So certainly he could have benefited from things like "you are enough," but I think the primary two beliefs I have that I would want to install, if I could put it on a big, like, for everyone to have, is that we are 100% responsible for our lives. And everything is figure outable. I mean, I really live by that for the longest time, that we are responsible, because when we take, with great responsibility comes great power. We have great power to make it better. But when we complain, we make excuses, and everything could be valid. I mean, anyone could validate anything. It's probably true, but nothing changes, right? And we can't be upset by the results we didn't get from the work we didn't do. And so I like to put the onus on us. I talk about personal agency a lot, because I don't want people to feel like they can't do anything, because you could always control your mindset, your motivation, and the methods, your head, your heart, and your hands. It's not always easy. And so if I was to go back, I would have that conversation. Would I go back? I wouldn't. I also, watch a lot of time travel movies, and I don't want to mess up the future. And just who knows? I'm pretty good. But I think all the challenges, I think that things, when we look back on things, we realize why things had to happen the way they happened. And this is hard for me to kind of accept sometimes, but all this struggle, like I had these migraines as a kid every day because of my brain injury. I had sensory issues where I lost my balance. So I wasn't really good at sports, and I'd be picked on and bullied. And all those days I hated every single day of it. That's why I would escape in comic books and other things. But it made me who I am today. And so the things that I was really shameful about growing up are the things I'm most proud of. Like my parents immigrated here, didn't speak the language, lived in the back of a laundromat that my mom worked at. We didn't have any money, time, connection. We didn't have anything. But, I just feel like certain things happen for a reason. So I personally wouldn't mess with the timeline. I don't want to get on to I see the people talking about the multiverse and Doctor Strange and all these things. But if I had a time stone, I probably wouldn't. But I do in my mind go back, and I do in my mind go forward. And I've said this publicly, the two people I want to make most proud well, I hope my parents, or, my child and my wife, but it's really that 9-year-old boy. I want to make that boy proud. And God willing, if I live to 99, I want to make that guy proud too. So I believe the life we live are the lessons we teach. But I hope you do something with all the 4,500 questions and those answers. That sounds amazing. I would love to see everyone that should actually take a screenshot of this right now and tag us all in there, and then put your answers so I get to read them, because selfishly, I love learning, and I feel like we can learn from every single person in our lives. Could be a teacher to us.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jim. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Great question, Corey. Great question. Hey, so we're kind of coming to the end here, 6 minutes. I want to ask the one of the amazing individuals that helped put this together. She's very, very, very much a humble creature, so she's not expecting me to call her out here, but she definitely has a question for you, because she's all about the creative element. Alex touched on this before, and I think it's a really, really cool concept to tap into creation and creativity. So I'm going to ask Julie Loken to come out here and ask him the question you were talking about with me. If you'll come out. There she is.
Hey, Julie.
Hi guys, thank you. And Jim knows I'm a big fan, and we met at VCon this year. So I actually got to meet him in person, and I know he had to vet me to make sure I was real. And his bestie JC was like, yeah, she's okay. Don't worry about her. But I've got your book right here. I want to just tell, and I want everybody right now, if you have Limitless version #1, I want you guys to go on Amazon right now and order this book. I think it's $22.95. It's not it's so beautiful. It's like a hardback. It's like the most gorgeous book. I'm not even kidding. This is beyond gorgeous. But tapping into creativity, this is my thing right now. And I have businesses. I have 4. I think you said you have 1 child, Jim, 1 baby. I have 4 boys. I have a husband. I have a business. I love writing. Like I adore writing, but I found like lately that I just cannot. My mind is almost tapped.
Yeah.
How can I get that flow state
Yeah.
when I just don't have the energy? Or is this something that I just should wait for? Again, just getting into that flow state. So guys, I just want to tell you, this is amazing.
You're so good. Thank you, Julie. Okay, so I'll give you the principles, and people could kind of customize it for their life, because everybody has, you know, different responsibilities and different demands on them, you know, kids and work and everything. How I break up my day, one of the things that takes a lot of that energy away is when we switch tasks. You know, we task switch. You know, we go through and we try to multitask, and it takes time to regain our focus and our flow, and it uses a lot of brain glucose, and because you have to shut down another part of your brain to turn on another part, and uses up a lot of energy.
What is brain glucose though? Like, what is that exactly?
Yeah, it's blood glucose, but for the brain. The brain either is being energized through either, you know, glucose, sugar, or ketones, or some energy source, right? And your brain is only 2% of your body mass, but it requires 20% of the energy. So it's an energy hog. But that's how important it is. But how I structure a day, and I know this is not practical for everybody, but understand the principle, because there's a reward behind it. I'm most creative once you know your chronotype, like your time type. Some people are early birds, some people are night owls, right? There's some real science. Many of you have taken mybrainanimal.com. I think that's the biggest takeaway. If anyone could just post that in the chat and make sure you do that today if you haven't done it already, because if you take that quiz, we have some amazing things.
Can we put that link in the chat, because it's amazing? My brain animal.
My brain animal. And so how I structure my day is I create in the morning, I consume in the afternoon, and I clear at night. And we can't always do this because we have meetings and children and go to school, like carpool, all this stuff, right? But to the best of your ability, the brain in the morning, I'm not trying to input. I want to output, because I'm most creative. That's my zone. So I want to do the best I can to create podcasts, write, right? To be more creative in the morning. In the afternoon, I'll consume research. In the afternoon, I'll listen to podcasts, I'll read books. And at nighttime, I need to clear so I could get some good rest, so I could do it again the next day. And clearing could be yoga nidra, like a simple breathing technique. It could be journaling to get their thoughts out on paper. It could be planning your day for tomorrow, so you don't have to ruminate about all the things you have to do tomorrow. It could be talking to, you know, your significant other to clear and process what happened that day, right? I just want to go through some kind of clearing. If I was to add a fourth C in there, is communication. And I'll do most of my communication, JC knows this, when I'm walking. So I'll FaceTime or do a phone call and get my steps in, you know, and I'll do I try to task batch. It's called task batching. And then the similar tasks together. So I don't have to go from one to divergent things, you know. It's because I use a lot of energy and regains focus. But if I did all my communication at one time, ideally all my creative work at one time, all my consuming at one time, then I don't have to waste a lot of energy and time. But that's kind of my go-to, because I know you mentioned energy and creativity. Do you find you're most creative like in the morning, afternoon,
First
evening?
thing in the morning, first thing. And I have to like work out in the morning, and then like creativity. And then I push myself. And then in the afternoon, it's like I go, bleh, but then I get a burst. And then I get bursts in the late afternoon and at night, which is bad because I need to sleep. So what do you think about sleep? Like, is sleep, how important is sleep too?
It's vital. That's why the clearing is so important. So everybody knows a lot about my morning routine, and videos have millions of views, but evening routine to get better sleep, everybody just first get direct sunlight first thing in the morning, even if it's hazy or foggy, outside, not through windows, because your eyes are the only part of your brain that's outside of your skull and helps to reset your circadian rhythm. If you're sensitive to caffeine like I am, no caffeine past 12 o'clock or maybe 2 in the afternoon. You have an alarm to wake up. Most people have an alarm to go to sleep. You know, your brain loves a schedule. So that sleep routine is so very important, even on the weekends. And again, nobody gets it perfect, but understand, you know, what progress would look like. And then the last two things, we would know it'd be time to go to sleep, because the environment would tell us, right? Back when we're hunter-gatherers, it would get colder and it would get darker. But with modern conveniences, a thermostat, you know, track lighting, it doesn't have to get darker or colder. And so if you could cool down the room, now where it's so cold where you're shivering, that keeps you up, but we'll get deeper sleep when it's darker and a little bit cooler also as well. Or if you take a nice hot bath with some Epsom salt, you absorb the magnesium, helps you relax. But that's the triggers for melatonin, that hormone that helps you relax, colder and darker.
Oh, I love that. I'm so appreciative of you guys. Make sure you guys have to do this right now. If you don't do this right now, I am not going to sleep tonight. So make sure you get this.
That's how you're going to help Julie sleep better.
It will make me sleep and I'll get really creative in the morning. And I don't know if we have time. There's Q&A. There's some questions down there, but JC,
Well, we're at the top of the hour.
Oh, we are. Okay.
And Jim's got to get to his next place, but
he's so busy.
My brother,
I love him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Folks, we've got a follow-up for everybody. So, thanks so much to Heidi she keeps posting everything. So, if you want to make everything simple, I'll just put it in there. We're going to send everybody a copy of this broadcast tonight. As Heidi says, you'll be able to practice your Japanese. And then also an email with everything Jim Kwik, access to not only his offering, his book, but also his podcast and just awesome stuff. And I'll talk to Jim, and I'm sure he will have some goodies. But do yourself a favor, do the people in your surroundings a favor, and learn how to learn. Something that you weren't taught. That's I'm in a jacuzzi experience because I speak to Jim all the time, and my life's been changed. But if you've just come across
mine as well, JC.
Might as well. Exactly. That's a great way to say it. But this is an opportunity to step into your limitless potential. One of the things that Jim recognizes is you don't have to become limitless. It's really just about unlocking something that's already there. And that's one of the things that you're going to do by, it's just simply starting by reading the book, but just working your way into.
We have a book club. And we have the authors come in. The book for next month happens to be Limitless Expanded. So anybody who gets it today, we're closing it out for the end of the month, just as a thank you.
Today's the last day. Yeah.
So if you go to limitlessbook.com, all the information's there. You'll get invited to it, and it'll be a deep dive on how to be limitless in 2024. But I just want to thank every single one of you that put this on. It means the world to me. Our mission, we're small in people, but big on purpose, is to build better, brighter brains. I believe every single one of you have genius inside of you. Everyone who's here watching this right now, regardless of your age, your background, your career, education level, financial situation, gender, history, IQ, and the limits that, we buy into, they're not always real. And I feel like now is so many times we shrink down because we're so, like what I did when I was a kid, because I have my learning disabilities, and I always shrink and compress myself and want to be invisible and dim my light. And I really feel like we shouldn't be dimming our lights just because it's shining in somebody else's eyes. If not now, more than ever, we have to shine more brightly and bright, and I think it really starts with a mind shift, not even time management, but just our mind management, that you are the pilot of your brain. You're not the passenger. But there's a version of all of you. If you're watching this, there's a reason. And just like that advice giving to your younger self, if you were to go even fast forward in the future, sometime in the future, what advice would that future person give to you right now? That would make the biggest difference, because I believe that person, that version of yourself, is patiently waiting. And the goal is we show up every single day for ourselves and each other until we're introduced. So thank you everybody so much for doing this. Look, we got to do this again. Because it's nourishing for me also as well. I love the energy here and just reading all these comments. And also just last thing on we never know the battles people are struggling with, that they're fighting behind the scenes. Everybody does, myself, everybody. And that's why I think kindness is so important nowadays, and kindness is free, so we should be sprinkling that stuff everywhere. All right,
kindness free. I love how Jim's just so good at dropping one of those things and then just poof, leaving. Kindness is free. I'm gonna get a t-shirt made of that. So thank you so much, brother. Everybody, make sure that you get on that, and opt in, and then you'll get access to all of these things. And that's another thing is when you tap into the Jim Kwik universe, he's just constantly giving. And this book club is just imagine being in a book club with Jim Kwik. But just to clarify, a lot of people are asking questions. Purchase the book first. Maybe Heidi can put it up there again.
Yeah.
Purchase the book from Amazon or whatever, but then go to that link and put the information in. Ends tonight to get access to that stuff. If you miss that and you sign up just for the recording, that email will have that information in there for you as well. My brother, thank you so much. I want to just say a final thank you to all of our guests that asked great questions. You guys are all amazing people. I had no idea what you're going to talk about. Amazing. Thanks so much to Julie Loken and Heidi Dunstan and the folks at Creative Con. Remember, that's CRE8 TIVE Con. That's an event next year. Thank you guys so much for putting this together. And I know Jim's grateful as well. Guys, have an amazing night and be limitless.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you. Bye-bye.